Hello, hello everyone. I'm Jenny Fitterer and welcome to the Libra season forecast. I feel like time is just flying by and we're already in Libra season. So I'm just going to dive right in. We have a lot to cover today. There's a lot of things happening astrologically this season. And then of course I'm going to finish with the tarot reading. So we're just going to jump right in. So Libra season, just going to talk about Libra themes in general. So Libra is a air sign. It's a cardinal air sign. And so that means it's as a cardinal sign, it is starting off a new season. So in the northern hemisphere, we are starting autumn, and then in the southern hemisphere, we are starting spring. So we're starting out a whole new season. So there's energies of new beginnings and taking action. So we're starting Libra season starts with the equinox. So we start on the day and night, where day and night is all even, with the same amount of light as darkness, and then we'll be starting to get darker in the northern hemisphere and lighter in the south. So Libra season starts in this time of balance of light and dark. And one of the main themes of Libra is harmony, is balance, is taking things that are different and trying to bring them together in a harmonious and fair way. So Libra is very concerned with equal and fair relationships. Libra is a sign of partnership, and that can often be about romantic partnership and love and sexual union. And it is also can be about work partnerships or engaging in contractual agreements with a partner. So Libra is very much concerned about two peers coming together as equals and negotiating and finding a way where they can relate to each other in a harmonious and fair way. So once Libra season starts, we may find that we are paying a little bit more attention to our intimate relationships, and also just being a little bit more aware of fairness in the community in general, and thinking about justice, trying to see who's being treated fairly and who's being treated unfairly, and what can we do about it. Libra, as an air sign, is a mental sign, so it's very much about thinking and communicating. So thinking about justice and how can we communicate with each other in a way that is fair and equitable for each other, both in our partnerships and just in how we associate with each other. So following the patterns of the last few seasons, where Leo season, we were learning all about kind of our healthy ego and having our needs met and kind of being more in the center of attention. Virgo season, we took a step off the pedestal and sort of thought, okay, how can I serve others? How can I take my needs and for a time not have them be the most important thing, but instead learn how to uplift and serve other people? Libra season is kind of like the marrying of Leo and Virgo energy and saying, I know how to be the most important. I know how to make others the most important. And how can we now balance that where both people are important? Both people are equally important and everybody has their needs that we need to help get met. So Libra is bringing back into balance what we tipped out of balance in Leo and Virgo. And now we're kind of bringing that into harmony. So that's some basic Libra themes. So here, all of these times that I'm saying are based on Pacific time, where I live here. So Libra season is going to be starting on September the 22nd, where I am. So that's when we're going to start to feel a little bit more of these themes of justice, relationships, and communicating. That is going to be happening September 22nd. Then immediately after, early morning in September the 23rd, Mercury, which is currently in retrograde in Libra, is as it kind of travels backwards across the sky, is going to be entering Virgo again. So Mercury already went through Virgo, went through Libra, retrograded, so started to go backwards in the sky through Libra, and now we're going back into Virgo. So some of the things that we were thinking about a few weeks ago when we were in Virgo with Mercury being the planet of our thoughts and our mentality, what we think about and how we communicate, we would have been thinking about Virgo themes. We would have been thinking about the body, health, service, trying to kind of get connected with our rational and analytical mind, and how it relates to our health. So we may have been already thinking about a lot of those things. Mercury retrograding back into Virgo kind of gives us another chance to say, well, we thought about that. Have we actually, have we implemented it? It's like a second go around of those themes. Okay, anytime a planet is in retrograde, that energy is turns inward, and is a little bit slower, a little bit more inward focused. So returning to Virgo season in retrograde with Mercury is really feeling like it's honing in more on the self. So if before we were thinking about how to serve others and what's healthy to serve others, maybe now we're going to be start thinking more about how can I serve myself and what is healthy for me? How can I really slow down and maybe make some changes in my behaviors and patterns? Retrograde is a great time to rethink, replan, restructure, reorient, any of those words. That's all about kind of going back and thinking it over. So maybe if you have like a health routine, maybe now's the time to like tweak it. Think about it. Is this really working for me? Was I just copying somebody else, but maybe I'm realizing I need something else? How is my food intake? Did I sort of jump on how somebody else was eating and I realized that doesn't actually fit my body? I really need to think about it in a different way and pick something that works for me. So Mercury going into retrograde in Virgo is a great time to just stop and think, are the things that I've been trying working for me, for my health, for my well-being? So we get a little refresh there before we go direct again. So that is September 23rd, Mercury retrograding in Virgo. Next, we have the planet Venus is going to be entering, following the sun, into Libra on September the 29th. So Libra, all of these themes of relationships, and Venus as a planet is the planet of relationships, the planet of pleasure and relating with other people. A lot of our kind of sensual, sexual energy is found in Venus, and a lot of the things that we do and engage in a pleasurable way and that bring us a lot of joy. Venus as a planet rules over two signs, and one of them is Taurus and the other is Libra. So Venus is going to be moving into her home sign of Libra. So she's going to feel really at home there. Libra is the sign of relationships and communicating in equal partnerships. So Venus in Libra is really going to bring even more focus in. Is there fairness and equity and equality and justice in our relationships? How can we communicate with our partners, with our romantic partners and our business partners? Can we really like find what all of our needs are? What do we value? Venus is a planet of values. So what do I value? What does my partner value? Are they still in alignment? Do we value the same things? Do we value different things, but it still works together, that, you know, they're complementary different things? Or actually, do we find now that we really value totally different things? Maybe this partnership we get to reevaluate or see where, like, how things are working there. So that's in the kind of negotiating partner sense of Venus. But Venus and Libra are also concerned with pleasure. Libra is the sign of, in a way, like indulgent pleasure in terms of music and art and good food. Libra really kind of enjoys like the sophisticated life. So Venus and Libra is maybe a great time to like think about really indulging in the arts, in the senses, and think about, you know, if you wanted like a date idea, maybe that's go to the theater or go to a concert or just listen at home to some music, kind of really allowing kind of the fine arts and the sort of those little sophisticated pleasures, which doesn't have to be expensive. Again, you can just like put on some YouTube of some music that you really like and like enjoy a little cheap bottle of bubbly or something together. Those are things that Venus and Libra really kind of enjoys and gets to play together that way. So that's going to be September the 29th. So yeah, I think about it with Venus and Libra, like do the hard work, and then get your play, get your date together. So really think about what are our values, communicate things. Are we still on the same page? Is this union bringing us towards our goals? And once you've kind of established and seen that you're in communication with that, then go have your date, then have, you know, your friend date, have and enjoy those pleasures and really kind of luxuriate in what it is to be a beautiful body that gets to enjoy all of these things, that it's not just work, we get play as well. So that is Venus in Libra. Then the next thing that we have happening is Mercury again. Mercury's doing a lot. So Mercury has been retrograding and goes backwards into Virgo. Oh, and now it gets to go direct again. So Mercury is now turning direct, still in Virgo. So what that means is we're still thinking these Virgo thoughts. We're still thinking and trying to communicate with each other about service and health, and how our work can bring us into a greater connection with our spiritual practice. But as we go direct, that's when it's a lot easier to take action. So retrograde energy is very inward, very reflective. Once the planet starts moving direct, now it's more actionable. So like I said, if in the retrograde stage of Virgo, you were maybe thinking about, oh, maybe your fitness, your health regime, your kind of work practice, and reflecting on it and saying, oh, maybe I do need to make a few tweaks. This is when you make those changes and start implementing them. So saying, yeah, I'm going to try out this new way of working out. I'm going to try, maybe not parking so close to work and walking a little bit more, or I'm going to try this new food, or I'm going to try trying to get my work done in the evening instead of the morning because I find I'm actually more awake in the evening. Like now you get to start trying those things out as the planet goes direct. So that's October the 2nd. Mercury goes direct. So Mercury retrograde will be over on October the 2nd, and we'll still be in Virgo at that point. The next thing that we have here is Pluto. Way out there, Pluto, who's been in retrograde for quite a few months, is now going to turn around, follow Mercury, and start going direct as well. So, as I talked about quite a few months back, when Pluto did go into retrograde, these far planets that are way, way out in the solar system, they tend to not directly impact us as individuals quite as much as the closer planets like Mercury, Venus, or Mars do. They have a larger, more like collective impact. So we tend to see Pluto actions more on a community or even like national or global scale is how we see that impact. We can still feel it a little bit in our own lives, especially if you have kind of a stronger Pluto presence in your chart. But we tend to feel it more kind of in the outer realm. So Pluto has been in Capricorn during this retrograde, and he's about to turn around and go direct. So he's still going to be in Capricorn. So Pluto as a planet is a planet that is very in the mythological sense, Pluto is like the god of the underworld, this destructive figure. So Pluto is, as an energy, has a lot to do with like annihilation of what is in order to clear the slate and prepare for something new to grow and develop. So as an action, Pluto looks like destruction and death, but in the grand scape, that's like a clean sweep that allows for something new to happen. Things can get really, really cluttered when we build things. We always have growth. We have these structures, these practices, and it's really hard to do something new when the old is still there. So the impact of Pluto is to clear the slate, make new grounds to build. And Capricorn, the sign that Pluto is in, is very much concerned with structure, how we behave in integrity, and how we think about providing for ourselves and for our community and the generations that come before or that come after us. So it's very much about work ethic, discipline, providing, and structure. So in a personal life, we can think about that in terms of how we, how we work, maybe like how we make money, and we use that to provide the roof over our head and the food that we eat for us and our loved ones and the people we care about. Capricorn in our lives may be about our patterns of discipline for how we work and get things done and our goals. So that's on a personal level. We may find that Pluto has been like the structures that we've had in our lives that have worked for us for a while have been being shaken up. And we find that actually the things that used to work for us aren't working, or I'm finding it really hard to do discipline the way I did, or I'm finding a lot of like tough sort of things have been happening that are kind of causing me to throw things out and do something new. That may be how Pluto has been affecting us in a personal way. But what we've also been seeing is Capricorn in a collective sense relates to structure and government, because government is the structure of providership and discipline that sets the rules for how we behave in our day-to-day. So Pluto, having been in Capricorn and retrograding in Capricorn, has meant we've been seeing a lot of governmental shakeups. We've been seeing a lot of how the way things have worked before is maybe not working so well. We've seen systems that have seemed really stable maybe get kind of shaken or broken down. So some of that to us may look like we need to maybe try to fix it. And for some of us, that looks like we need to let it fall and build something new. So we're going to be seeing, as Pluto turns direct, we're going to be seeing a different kind of trajectory on maybe more of an acceleration of those things coming to a head. So whether that looks like things have been shaking, and now as we move forward with direct motion, it'll be easier for us to maybe shore things up and help our discipline and build our structures again. But it may look like this is the time where things really kind of like collapse for good, or certain ways where we see, no, the structure's not working. No, we're going to vote for something different. No, we're actually going to go on strike for different things. And oh, we're actually really just not going to let you keep being the disciplinarian you've been for us. These are things we're going to keep seeing collectively around us, in our communities and globally and nationally. So something to be aware of. Nothing to be, well, that's the thing. Like with any of these kinds of looking ahead at the future or astrology or predictive things, looking ahead is not designed to have you fear and be anxious. It's more about preparedness and understanding what is happening around you. So Pluto always feels really scary because it is about destruction. But again, destruction can just look like raking away all the crap in your garden so that you can see the earth and see what's there. So there can be a little bit of anxiety or stress because anytime that what we're familiar with gets broken down, it can feel really stressful. But that's also opportunity. So trying to, as we see these kinds of plutonic energies happening in our lives and the collective, it makes sense if you feel stress, if you feel anxious, if you feel grief, because a lot of things that you thought were really stable and steady have been found to actually be impermanent, like everything else. And so if that brings anxiety or grief, that's okay. That's fine to feel it. My hope for you is that hearing this and thinking about this doesn't put you into anxiety or doesn't put you into freeze mode of, oh my God, I'm in this total panic and now I'm just so scared of what's going to come, but helps you instead be prepared to weather things as they come and understand that this is part of the normal cycle of things, and that this is, though it may be scary, it may seem really unexpected, it is part of the larger life cycle of the cosmos. And even just knowing that something isn't abnormal can help it not feel as scary, and certainly not, but to still also not gaslight you to say that like you shouldn't feel scared, you shouldn't feel anxious. Like you're going to feel whatever you're going to feel, and hopefully this will just help you be prepared to weather it in a way that is seeing the opportunity instead of just seeing what's lost. So Pluto energy is heavy energy, but it's really important in the cycles that we all experience. So that is October the 8th. Pluto moving direct in Capricorn. So that's what's going to be happening there. Next, we have Mercury again. Mercury is just really moving around this season. Mercury, who will have been moving direct now since going direct on October 2nd. On October the 10th, Mercury is going to cross back into Libra. So Mercury was in Virgo, went into Libra, went backwards, went back into Virgo, went forwards into Virgo. Oh, now we're back to Libra again. And this point, he's going to keep on going from there. So Mercury is back in Libra. So we're going to be back onto those Libra themes, which is communication, justice, relationships, and also enjoying the pleasures and sophistications that we have to experience here on Earth. So Mercury going back into Libra after its retrograde stint is again going to be giving us an opportunity to say, how do we really now want to implement or be able to think in a more actionable way about the things we already were thinking about when Mercury was in Libra in retrograde. So since retrograde is all about restructure, rethinking, and reflecting, we maybe had some thoughts as Mercury's been in Libra about how are our relationships doing. Like this is having the Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in Libra for a time is really going to have us be thinking and communicating about relationships a lot. So this is a great time where if there have been things that have been coming up for you to think and stew on in retrograde, if you didn't communicate those in retrograde because you were busy in reflection, and often retrograde's a good time to be thinking rather than acting, now is a great time to maybe have those conversations. Schedule that date to have a conversation, set down your salient points, and make sure that everybody's got their goals and values on the table to communicate. And then have those conversations that again might feel kind of uncomfortable, but with Mercury at that point being in its direct motion, that just gives us a little bit like, okay, like now we can get on the same page. We can start to feel a bit of motion where things have otherwise been kind of like, kind of tense. So just as an aside, when Libra season starts, we currently have six planets in retrograde. So there's far out planets, close planets. So with so many things in retrograde, things can feel a lot like stuck, like I want to move forward, I want to do things, I have goals, and things are just really hard to move forward. By the time we're out of Libra season, 3 of those planets will have gone direct again. So there's a lot of, in this season, that feeling of like a slingshot pulling back and then letting go. So this whole season is going to feel like, starting to have forward momentum again. So this is, again, as so just be aware that that's kind of a, like, we're going to go into it feeling like nothing's really working, and I come out of Libra season feeling like we're picking some momentum back up. Okay, so yes, so Mercury and Libra, we're going to still be a lot of momentum and conversations around relationships, fairness. So again, it's not always just our romantic relationships. This may feel like, how are you being treated in your workplace, or in your friendships, or in the home life? Like, do things around you feel fair? Does people getting what they deserve? Are people getting their needs met? What are people's needs, and how can we all meet them? That's something that we're really going to be looking at and seeing more. So certainly look in your romantic relationships too, but like, don't be afraid to schedule those conversations with your boss, schedule conversations with your colleagues, with your parents, and try to bring those kind of Libra themes of justice in. And again, take that lesson from Venus, where we celebrated after we had the difficult conversations. Don't be afraid to dance and laugh a little bit and enjoy the pleasures that Libra has to offer as well. Okay, so that was Mercury going back into Libra in a forward direct motion on October the 10th. Excuse me, little burp there. Been holding that in for like quite a few minutes there. So the next planet, we have our 3rd planet going direct in the season. So Saturn, who has been in Aquarius, retrograding in Aquarius for quite a few months now, is going direct again, October 22nd, right at the end of the season. So Saturn. There's a lot of similar themes here from that Pluto in retrograde in Capricorn, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn has similar themes to Capricorn: structure, discipline, mastery, and also tending to be a very paternal energy in terms of teaching you the lessons you need to learn in life through discipline. So there's lots of things in life that we can experience in joy and lightness and ease, and there's some things that we cannot experience in life if we don't kind of focus and put our distractions and pleasures aside and get some discipline, hard work done. And that, culturally speaking, is associated with the father paternal figure that teaches us these disciplines. So Saturn is this disciplinarian that's teaching us how to focus in order to achieve mastery in our goals. So it looks like work now, play later. So Saturn, having been in Aquarius, has been an interesting sign as well. Saturn is the previous ruler of Aquarius before the outer planets, before Uranus was discovered in the solar system and gained rulership of Aquarius. Saturn was the ruler of Aquarius. So he's already kind of got a connection here. But Aquarius is the sign of the rebel, the innovator, the person who goes the untrodden path in order to experience something different. So Aquarius is very much likes freedom. It's an air sign, so air signs like to expand, like to be able to move. So Aquarius is a sign all about ideas, logic, thinking as that air sign, and thinking, the OG thinking outside the box is Aquarius. This is the box of expectation. I'm going to go beyond. And so already Saturn in Aquarius is interesting because Saturn tends to be the box. Saturn is the framework and the structure we operate inside. And Aquarius says, I want to operate outside of that. So in some ways, we can look at Saturn in Aquarius as being about breaking free of structure and rules, but we can also see how breaking free of current structure allows us to build a new structure and allows us to build a different framework. So Aquarius isn't necessarily destroy the old. That's more of a Pluto thing. It's more, the old doesn't work for me. It's boring. I'm going to go do something else. And then from there, the structure learns it can expand and say, oh, I thought the ceiling was here, but you went out there. Wow, we can build a different structure. So this may be about having new, unexpected things happen that allow you to change your structure. So it does feel a bit, there can be some tension in Saturn and Aquarius. So we've already been feeling that for quite a few months. And with this retrograde, things may have felt like you may have really felt that tension inside you more, of these are my structures that I think I have, but I feel like I want to do something different, but I'm not sure. Does that mean I get rid of these structures? Or am I just like, there may have been a lot of like, I don't know if what I've been doing and how I've been disciplining myself works anymore. And so as Saturn goes direct, you'll probably get more of those aha moments, that eureka, which Aquarius has, that like lightning bolt inspiration of, I got it now, something different, something entirely new and unthought of. Saturn going direct is going to allow for a lot more of those lightning bolts to hit now. And sort of like, we've been prepared for like, oh, things might be different. We were kind of wanting to rebel. So if Saturn in retrograde in Aquarius has probably been more of that rebel feel of like, oh, I want something to change. I don't want to be under the structure anymore. Retrograde is the rebel phase. And then when we go direct, that's going to probably be more of that like enlightened, innovative, eureka moment idea of, oh, it's not just that I'm like, I don't want to be a rebel without a cause, where I don't want the structure, but I don't actually know what I'd change it into. I just don't like the structure. I just want freedom, but freedom from, rather than freedom to do something. Once we go direct, we're probably going to have more of those downloads of what we're rebelling for, what we want freedom to do, what the next step is. And then Saturn can follow and say, how do we get there? Let us have some discipline and structure in our lives so that we can manifest and build towards this new vision, this new idea that we have. So that's all of what's going to be happening for Saturn in Aquarius, going direct October 22nd. And then that's just scooting in right at the end. So we have got one last transit here. I told you it's really packed this season. We have Venus is moving into Scorpio, like the last few hours of Libra season before Sun moves into Scorpio. So Venus is tucked super close to the Sun at this point, and moving into Scorpio October 23rd. So Venus in Scorpio. So again, Venus is this planet of relationships, values. And Scorpio, I'm excited about this. My Venus is in Scorpio, so this feels like, home turf for me. But Scorpio season, Scorpio is connected to Pluto, and so Scorpio also has these themes of death and decay, in order to allow that decay cycle to create more nutrition for the life that happens later. So in the Northern Hemisphere where I am, this is kind of like that middle of autumn stage where things are really starting to die off now to prepare for winter and going into that hibernation and stasis. So Scorpio is the sign of going into what is underneath everything and finding the riches that are there. So Scorpio tends to be pretty intrigued with notions of death and darkness, and things that are connected to that. So also is interested in the unconscious. Scorpio correlates to the unconscious realm, and also tends to be interested in things that are repressed, and things that are perhaps like impacted down, things like trauma, repression, illness that's been squelched and shoved really down. Scorpio is interested in penetrating that and getting to it and bringing it out into the open. So the sign of Scorpio is, of course, the scorpion. So that stinger that comes in super sharply and penetrates deeper than other people. And there's also this feeling of the poison and the toxin that the scorpion has the Scorpio element, which is medicine is poison in the right dose a lot of the times. So there's this relationship between poison and medicine, illness and healing, that Scorpio kind of has that edge there, which is again that razor edge of life and death. How do they relate to each other? So the right amount of something that could cause you illness in too large of an amount may be the cure that you need. So Venus in Scorpio is placing more values on seeing what health is found on that razor edge of death and illness and trauma, and trying to bring it out of the darkness and where it's repressed into the light. So since Venus is also about relationships, this is often going to be bringing up past trauma from relationships. This may be trying to deal with things that have been repressed in relationships. This may be, you know, new relationships or things that we've sort of, as we figured Venus in Libra, we talked a lot about our relationship values and what we might want. Now that we're moving into Scorpio, we may be starting to see how those changes are unearthing and making us aware of some trauma and repressed things that ideally we want to now bring out and transmute in order to create that new soil for something new to grow. So this may feel like rough. Scorpio season can feel pretty heavy, especially for people who tend to not want to look at the dark things, that want to stay in the light and stay in the pleasure realm. Scorpio tends to force us to pay more attention to that. So again, this is one of those things where working with the flow of these energies really helps you not to be afraid of them and understand that it's all cycles, so it's all finite. So if you find your relationships are starting to feel kind of intense that way, or you're starting to feel that you are having old trauma starting to come up and you're like, oh, I thought I dealt with this. We always are dealing with things in cycles. They do come back and we have a chance to heal another layer of it for now. And it doesn't mean, oh my God, am I right back to where I was before? Or if this trauma is coming up, what's wrong with me that it's not healed? It's not about judgment. It's an opportunity as those heavy things come up to say, I have another chance to heal a little bit more. I have another chance to dig out a little bit more so that next time it comes around, it's a little bit lighter and I'm a little bit healthier. So yeah, it's just that being aware of the opportunity that the season presents without being too alarmed of it. There's also an element with Scorpio that has to do with kind of like shamanic practices or the magic that is associated with going on that razor edge into the dark or going into the unconscious realms. So if that is a practice for you in spirituality, and that can be in pagan practices, in religious practices, they may look a little bit more like confession or diving into kind of past issues and kind of bringing that up. Whatever your spiritual practice may be, this is a great time to be okay to sit in the dark, knowing that this just brings more to light in the future. So Venus and Scorpio, I'm always excited for it. So that's October 23rd, right after midnight, just before the season changes, and then we move into Scorpio season proper, October 23rd. So that's that. That's a lot of those transits that are happening. It's going to be a packed month. I'll just give you the quick moon dates. I'm not going to go into them on these workshops, but the new moon is going to be in Libra on September the 25th. And then the full moon in Aries will be October the 9th. So those are your moon dates if you're interested in those. So I'm going to take a breath here before I dive into the tarot reading. I'm going to take this time to acknowledge as well that I live here on the lands of the Lekwungen speaking people, the Esquimalt and Songhees nations here on the west coast here of Canada on Turtle Island. So this is where I live and work. This is where I do my spiritual practice. This is the land that I've been raised on and I know and I love it. So I'm very grateful to those who stewarded the land before me, and I'm very aware of my place and my responsibility to aid in reconciliation with the peoples here. So if you are a settler on the land where you are, this is something that I hope that you think about sometimes as well, and see what you can do in an active, tangible way to work towards reconciliation. And that's a great thing to be thinking about while I shuffle. So this is the card that we're going to be pulling for the collective for Libra season. I'm going to see what's coming up for everybody. Let's grab that one. Okay. Libra season. We have the Queen of Swords reversed. So this is the card. This is the way she looks the right way up. So we have this woman here in a big red robe, red hat. She's holding this sword. She's sitting down, and we have this kind of red sort of phantom wave shape above her, a little butterfly down below, blue background, and this is the way the card looked. Okay. So we're going to see Queen of Swords. What we have to say. Okay. Queen of Swords, conscious living. The Queen of Swords has two faces. She is a stern judge and at the same time a cheerful elf queen embodied in the picture by the red being, superego, ghost, or conscience above her and the butterfly below. One of the most splendid tasks of the suit of swords is to reveal alternative ways to realize your unfulfilled needs. Use the weapons of your mind to liberate yourself from internal and external constraints. Stand up for yourself. Do not be impressed by superficialities or delusions. Refine your power of discernment. The Queen's lofty location in a cloud constitutes a warning to beware of castles built in the air and of other pipe dreams. In a more positive sense, the image indicates that the realm of the mind is a world of its own with special opportunities. It celebrates the capacity to recognize and to define vague desires or fears. One of the major strengths of this mistress of perception lies in dispelling unfounded fears. Prejudices and fears constitute self-imposed obstacles and may prove to be unfounded when carefully analyzed. In other cases, they express authentic needs and experiences which cannot be communicated in any other way. Swords, as weapons of the mind, have the power to develop and refine our mental capacities. Being able to discern and assess experiences that have previously gone unnoticed, about which you were ignorant, is an important aspect of that power. Practical advice: ensure clarity in your decisions and your behavior. If necessary, use a magnifying glass or a pair of binoculars to look at your concerns from all possible angles. Refine love, longing, and passion. This is a card of release from your fears and of new openings in matters of the heart. Okay, Queen of Swords. This feels like a really good card for Libra season, and specifically this kind of feels like Venus in Libra's archetype here. So Libra as an air sign, swords are the suit of air, so we're really looking here. This card really feels like Libra's focus on justice and how using the power of the mind in a non-prejudiced way to find clarity and discernment to make decisions about what is fair, what is just. So this Queen of Swords really feels like this Venus and Libra archetype of somebody who is using her swords of discernment here to try to bring us equality and liberating us from that injustices and the things that constrain us that we fear. There's also this image here that works really well with that kind of two sides of Libra, the like being very concerned about justice and diplomacy and negotiation, which feels a bit more serious, and then also this kind of lighter side of play, music, enjoying kind of the sophisticated things of life. So we're reflected here at the beginning where the Queen of Swords has these two faces, the stern judge, that justice, and the playful, cheerful elf queen who's really enjoying the playful elements of Libra and enjoying that music. So it's like the work first and the play. There's so much joy and beauty that can be had and shared if we have done the work to be in a just and equitable relationship, society, culture, community, family, all of those things. We need that container first. We need that justice and equity first, which allows us in safety and comfort in community to now enjoy all of these other rich and beautiful and delightful artistic and beautiful things. So this Queen of Swords is presiding over both of those things. So she's a queen rather than a king. So she's not the stern disciplinarian. She's not necessarily dispensing justice in a very paternal kind of solid way. She has that more of a heart where she's sitting there and she's being wise and discerning, but she's not above it and so detached from it that she isn't also then going to join in on the play and join in on the beauty and the dancing that comes after. So this is, really feels like a good avatar for this month in particular. I think the fact that it came out reversed is more indicative of how many retrogrades that we have this season. So we're really starting in first, this like feeling like she's sort of turning the sword down, and this might be thinking like that first you're really using this discernment on the inside with all of these retrogrades as you reflect. You start that with yourself of what's just behavior for myself, what's fair and equitable for all the parts of me to be in good relationship with each other. And then as we come out of our retrogrades and we start being able to engage more in a forward way with the outside world, then it's kind of like we're feeling like, okay, now we can also use our discernment outside of ourselves as well, because we have a firm foundation internally that now we can turn outside too. So I think that I'm probably going to leave it with that. I feel like, those keywords of discernment and clarity and justice, and then also joy and beauty and pleasure are kind of that balance that we see in Libra. It's not just one thing. It's that balance that we're always, that starting with the equinox, we're bringing things into balance, the work, the play, the stern, the joy, the justice, and the pleasure, that we get that in equal measure, and that we in fact can have more of it all together when we built that safe container. So that is the card that I've got for you, and that's all of the transits that are happening. So yeah, I hope that this was a really helpful workshop for you. I know I had lots of fun doing it. There's so much going on, and I think that, yeah, I'm really excited to kind of feel that slingshot of as we start coming out of those retrogrades and moving in. I love autumn personally, so here being in the northern hemisphere, Libra season, Scorpio season, I really like that change of pace. So I'm looking forward to this. This was a pay what you can workshop, so any donation and every donation is really deeply appreciated, really helps me keep making this content and helps me keep going and build bringing new things for you. So there's a pay what you can link below in this video, so really much obliged for all of your generosity, and yeah, I will see you next month. Take care, everybody.